Woolly and the Cloud. One day, when the falling rain had finally stopped, Woolly saw a rainbow from behind the mountain top. So many colours! What a delight! I should get Mum and show her this sight. And then, all of a sudden, came a cloud, big and white, and the colourful rainbow was almost out of sight. Oh no, no, no! Now what should I do? I want Mum to see the rainbow too. Excuse me, dear cloud, little Woolly said. Could you please float somewhere else instead? But the cloud ignored him and stayed in its place, while the golden sun made a silly face. Woolly decided with a determined degree to find where it is that rainbows begin. He climbed the rainbow way up high, moved the cloud and tell it goodbye. He found the place where the rainbow rose to meet the sky and tickle its nose. Little Woolly climbed and did not stop until he reached the very top. He turned to the cloud, who had appeared so rude. Would you mind moving if you're in the mood? I'd really like for Mum and I to watch the rainbow in the sky. The little cloud was very polite. He didn't want to cause a fight. He smiled and caught a breeze and went to visit his friends, the trees. Then Woolly sat down to the rainbow to the ground and showed his mother the rainbow he'd found, and our story's ending you won't want to miss. Woolly's mother gives him a kiss. The end. The end of Woolly and the Cloud. Now, Woolly and the Dark. Woolly and the Dark. In the evening, when Woolly was getting ready for bed, he looked out his window and saw the sun that would soon be red. Below the horizon he saw the sun float away, and knew that it was the end of another day. "Oh, sun," Woolly said, "sweet dreams and good night. I'll see you tomorrow at dawn's first light." The sky then changed colour and became a dark blue, and it was time for the stars to start shining too. Then in came Mummy to tuck Woolly in. "It's time now for bed," she said with a grin. She kissed little Woolly and covered him with care, and on his pillow she placed Timmy the bear. Mummy kissed Woolly and told him good night, and as she left the room she turned off the light. Woolly counted sheep and tried to go to sleep. He rolled around in bed, and with Timmy he played, but of the darkness in his room he was afraid. Woolly was starting to shiver with fright when he saw something twinkling bright in the night. He got up and pulled the curtain aside to see what it was that twinkled outside. And there in the sky, what a wonderful sight! A comet in the sky, sparkling bright. "There's no need to be scared of the dark," the comet said. "I'll go get some friends and we'll have a party instead." Woolly opened the window wide, and all the stars flew inside. "Hello, Woolly. We've come to play with you. What is it that you would like to do?" Woolly's new friends all came from far and made for Woolly a blanket of stars. But still, Woolly couldn't sleep that night. The stars in the blanket were much too bright. The blanket of stars was Woolly's to keep, but it certainly didn't help him to go to sleep. So Woolly got up and said to the stars, "I thank you all for coming so far. It would be enough if just one of you stayed. I think I'm quite ready to call it a day." The stars said good night and returned to the sky. Woolly counted sheep, but barely counted 5. And now, dear Woolly, we bid you good night, and the stars are all whispering, "Sleep tight." The end of Woolly and the Dark. Next, we are going to read Woolly in the Playground. Woolly in the Playground. Twilight. What a magical time of day. It seems the colours in the sky do play. The sun sets slowly far away, and there's only a few moments left to play. And if you listen closely, you can hear the sound of Woolly and his friends playing in the playground. Woolly loves swinging on the swing and climbing over everything. Up the rope ladder he climbs. They're all having the best of times. Suddenly, from the old tree nearby, comes a scared little cry. Benjamin the kitten is stuck in the tree. He cannot climb down, you see. He climbed the tree way up high without any fear. But how's he going to get down from here? How can Woolly help him down from the tree? He knows that an easy task this won't be. How can he climb such a tree? It's so high, but it seems like he must at least give it a try. Woolly searched his brain for a clever plan. "I must help Benjamin. I know I can." Then the idea appeared just like that. The way to save the stranded cat. He called to Benjamin, "Don't fall, don't crash. I'll be up there in a flash." He tied the rope ladder. He tied the slides to the swing with a piece of sturdy string. He added the ladder to the pile and started climbing with a smile. "Here's your way." When he reached the top, he called to Ben, "Here's your way back down, my friend. Here's the ladder. No need to fear. I'll climb down too. I'll be quite near." And so the kitten and the woolly little boy descended to the ground with joy, and after tidying everything around, they played and played until the sun went down. The end of Woolly in the Playground. Woolly and the Thunder. Winter has arrived, and a cold wind blows. The sky is cloudy, and soon there will be snow. Woolly lies cuddled. His blanket is warm. There's no need to go out in the storm. Side in the storm. Suddenly, from outside, a light flashes bright. Little Woolly shivers with fright, and right after the light comes a very loud sound, a sound so loud it shakes the ground. It's thunder and lightning, the wintry pair, crashing and thundering through the cold winter air. Lightning says, "This winter I shall rule. I will be king as long as it's cool." And thunder lets loose a rolling great chuckle, a sound so loud your knees nearly buckle. Woolly looked out in his window and thought and said, "Thunder and lightning, I'll just stay in bed. One makes loud noise, the other one flashes. I don't think I'll mind if I miss any classes." But on his way back to bed, he was startled by a yelp. It was Johnny the dog, yelping for help. From his nose to his tail, he was trembling over from his nose to his tail. "I've got to help John," Woolly thought to himself. He got up and paced from his bed to the shelf. Then suddenly a grin appeared on his face, a sign that his brain had begun to race. "You should be ashamed," Woolly said to the thunder and lightning. "You don't rule this winter, even if you are frightening. Long before you, the wind was here, whistling far and blowing near. If you ask me, I'll tell you. It's true. Wind is the king. Definitely not you." The pair of them stopped and looked at each other. Could the king truly be another? Where is the wind? Tell us right now. We'll find him and explain to whom he must bow. Find him who must. There can only be one king. That breezy young pup must understand this thing. And then, without even waiting for an answer, the pair went to find just where the wind blows. At last it was quiet, and all breathed a sigh. Thunder and lightning were gone from the sky, and if by chance you see lightning flash, or hear the sound of thunder crash, then know it's the sound of the stormy pair arguing with the wind high up in the air. The end of Woolly and the Thunder. Woolly and the Puddle. It's great to go out and play when the rain has finally gone away. So when Woolly saw the sky was clear, he left his house from the door in the rear. Outside the house there waits a breeze, as nice a breeze as you could please. The world seems quite fresh and new, and the grass awash in dew, like diamond drops on blades of green. What a perfect, delightful scene! Woolly smiled, and then walked along, humming his most favourite song. Under the pine tree, dang, what a treat! Delicious mushrooms he could eat. They're always there. After the first rain, it rains. They go. They don't complain. When he moved in for a better look, he'd seen these mushrooms in a book. His foot got wet, so it was plain. He stepped in a puddle, left by the rain. Woolly was glad his boots were on, even though the rain was gone. But what's this? Can you see? But what's this floating? Can you see? 3 leaves had fallen off the tree. They don't look glad. They look rather sad. They'd rather be back on the top of their beloved tree. Woolly saw that they were sad, and told them that it's not that bad. In fact, he told them, "I'd love to float, just like it, all day long, just like a boat. I think you are very lucky, leaves. You could sail to see the 7 seas." The leaves didn't really understand, till Woolly asked some birds to land. He raised his arms above his head, and the birds in song he led. The birds sang a pretty song, not too short, not too long. The leaves at last began to smile, while all the while Woolly and his friends looked on, clapped their hands, and joined in song. The end of Woolly and the Puddle. Next, Woolly dreams a dream. Woolly dreams a dream. Take a pillow, a blanket, and a nice big chair. Sit in the garden and enjoy the fresh air. A wonderful idea you may want to keep. Just in a few moments, he'll fall asleep. Woolly loves these magical times. He even dreams in rhymes. He dreams many dreams, some happy, some strange, and they seem to come alive. They seem so real. Just last week, he met a cloud in his dream, fluffy and white, and friendly and sweet. They played hide and seek, and ran with great speed. They hid in the garden, and in the green trees. Then the cloud quite suddenly turned into a bear, a great white bear that drifted in the air. But Woolly wasn't frightened. It was only a dream, and dreams aren't always quite what they seem. Yesterday, Woolly dreamed of the seasons, and for what reason? And which one comes first? And for what reason? In the dream, the seasons were a little confused. In winter, people walked around with no shoes. In the spring, quite suddenly, it started to snow, and in the autumn, the flowers began to grow. And then, the 4 seasons he invited to see how he could arrange them as he knew they should be. He arranged them all in a row. He put spring first, and then summer, just so. Then comes winter and winds. Then comes autumn and winds that blow. Then last comes winter, and it's falling like snow. But sometimes, a little too often, it seems, Wooly has some frightening dreams. Why, 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was 3, Wooly dreamt he was down by the sea. A fish was stuck in the pool and on the beach, and could not find a way to get back to his family. But lucky for the fish, Wooly was there, and Wooly's the kind of boy who cares. He dug a big ditch right back to sea, and did not stop till the fish was free. The grateful fish, swam back to his sea, swam back to his school, under the sea, where it's blue and it's cool. The fish was grateful, and his family too. Thank you, Wooly, for being you. And when Wooly awakes, sometimes it seems that he was just waiting to dream his next dream. For in our dreams, anything can take place. You can fly to the stars and even to outer space. The end of Wooly Dreams a Dream. Wooly and the Mountain. Wooly loves to go out and explore. He loves to curse the fresh air. He especially loves to look at the birds and the flowers and trees, especially to cool off. But he especially likes it to cool down. There's nowhere to go now. But there's a special place he's never seen. A beautiful place far away. Wooly has never been before climbing the mountain. Every time he goes out, he sees it from afar. Wooly wonders to himself what the mountains are like, how secrets are written on every side, how the mountain holds secrets from below. Even from green meadow from below, the mountain cycle would look like a shadow. What secrets he could imagine. It was really scary to climb that high. Then one day Wooly took a backpack and a stick. He took a deep breath and went for a long walk. He'll find answers to your questions, even if it is necessary. Reaching the mountain, he began to climb. He climbed carefully for a very long time. The wind helped him as he tried to climb the rocks and bushes. Wooly saw something happen that tested his courage when he took a little break. Then something was moving in the bushes. Ah, it's just a deer. Wooly continued to climb. It was so high that he could almost touch the clouds. If you looked down, you could see that even the birds were staying down if you looked really down. From up on top of the mountain, everything looked small. Being so tall must be something like this. Wooly was filled with pride. Now almost jumps, relaxing on top of the mountains. Like a deer, he knew that the top of the mountain was very near. Now at its peak, Wooly stands happily looking towards the unknown lands. But what is this? The houses and streets look the same from the sides of the streets. But after this climb, Wooly doesn't care. Just stop and breathe in the fresh air. It's a wonderful feeling being this high, on top of the mountain, so close to the sky. The end of Wooly and the Mountain. Wooly and the Snow. On a cold winter day, a little dark and grey, the first winter snow came falling flake after flake, and in the kitchen, Wooly was baking a treat, fresh angel biscuits that he loves to eat, a touch of brown cinnamon, and a flour he takes, some sugar to decorate. They're so simple to make. As he placed the cookies in the oven to bake, he became fascinated by the beautiful white snow flakes. Come out and play, the Snow called to Wooly, and out he went, and forgot about his cookies. Sam was already outside, right from head to toe, from jumping and rolling around. Together they played, with joy and glee, until all of a sudden, what did Wooly see? From the oven chimney, a black cloud of smoke. He forgot the cookies in the oven! That's no joke! He ran to the kitchen, but it was already too late. The cookies just laid there, burnt on the plate. Like chunks of black coal, they lay on the plate, and all that's left are caddies. That was not our plan. Wooly sat down, frustrated and sad. Then he saw Sam's tail, bouncing wag. But what is Sam the dog doing in the snow? Snow rabbits and snow bears? He's building, of course. Wooly, of course, comes to join the fun. If there's a game going on, he won't be outdone. Look how much snow he can gather so fast. It's so much fun. We want this game to last. When they finished the work, they both took a look and said, "That's not how rabbits look in a book." And the bear does not really look like a bear. Sam, bear. What is missing? Maybe some hair? Sam said, "I know. There's no eyes and no tail. And I believe the mouth is missing as well. A bear's not a bear if he doesn't have hair. We must, I think, put hair on this bear." "I have an idea, Sam. I know just what we'll do. We'll use these burnt cookies, and the coloured candy too. We'll sprig some on the top, and on the sides too. Yes, that's much better. Now that's much better. Yes, that'll do. So even if it's snowing outside, and it's colder than cold, your cookie's burnt, and the cheese has grown mould, you can still have fun in the snow, if you know where to look. Just take the coloured candies, and your coat's off the hook." The end of Wooly and the Snow. Woolly and the Sea. What a very hot day it's going to be. So Willie and his family are riding in the car. The sun is shining bright, and on the beach the family arrives. Daddy took out an umbrella for shade, while Mummy had prepared the food she had made. Willie stood alone and looked at the sea. He looked far away, as far as it can be. A wondrous thought captured Woolly's bright mind. Where is it where does the wonderful sea end? He must find out. Where do the waves come from, and where do they go? And from where do the salty waters flow? How do shells arrive on the beach? Where do seagulls come from, and why do they screech? And where does the yellow sun go at the end of the day? Where does it hide? To where does it drift away? Even when Woolly looked as hard as he could, he saw nothing unusual that he thought he should. Both sky and the sea, and the seagulls flying high, careless and free. He tried very hard, but to his dismay, the soaring blue waves were in his way. What should he do? Thought little Woolly, with grief. How would he find out what's at the end of the sea? But as always, he thought of a plan. Not simple, of course, but Woolly began. He started gathering a great pile of sand, as much as he could gather in his two little hands. He gathered sand in buckets and gathered sand in pots. He used his own two hands and his blue can that he had brought. And all the sand he gathered built a ladder very high, a ladder made of sand that almost reached the sky. When the work was completed as he had planned, Woolly climbed the ladder built out of sand. He climbed the ladder. He climbed and climbed for quite a while Woolly must have reached quite nearly a mile. And from the fluffy white cloud way up high to find the end of the sea he did try. But even when Woolly looked as hard as could, he did not see what he thought that he should. The end of the sea he just could not find. Only endless blue waters, and there's nothing else behind. And Woolly thought to himself, maybe the sea has no end. So Woolly climbed down and went to play in the sea, his friend. The end of Woolly and the Sea. Woolly and the Tractor. One morning, when Woolly first opened his eyes, and stretched with a sigh, he heard the sound of a big engine running and saw a tractor that was working and humming. It had a big scoop right there in the front, and it pushed a great pile of dirt to the ground. Woolly thought, why is that tractor working so hard? Is it building a fence or a ditch in the yard? Woolly went outside to see what he could, and watched from the side, where it's safe, by the woods. The tractor's been digging an hour or so. It's making a ditch through which water will flow, and it will throw for a pipe that's buried in the ground, and bring water to the people that live all around. But wait, where is it this pipe will go? Into the garden right here? Just so? It will dig up the flowers and the grass that's grown so long. I just can't allow it. That would be wrong. That's what Woolly said to himself as he thought what to do. Then he asked the tractor to wait just a moment or two. Then Woolly walked over to the flowers, who was scared, and showed them that there was one person who cared. He lifted them out of the ground carefully, He put them in a box and placed it on his seat and called the tractor. Now you can start, if you please. The tractor continued digging the ditch in the dirt. Then the pipe in the ground he tried to insert. Then Woolly took the flowers and started to dig. He put the flowers inside the new house. That was big. And the flowers who had been before so full of fright now were expressions that were happy and bright. Everyone was happy that it all had ended so well, and they agreed it would be a great story to tell of the tractor that came to work in the yard one day and almost took the home of the flowers away. The end of Woolly and the Tractor. Woolly and the Kiddie Car. Vroom vroom. This is the best by far. For his birthday, Woolly received himself a new kiddie car. Look at Woolly go. He's driving so fast. The world to the sides is just flashing past. When you're driving a car as nice as this, the world is joyful and full of bliss. At the side of the road, there's a familiar face. It's Sam. Woolly pulls over and stops the race. It's Sam the dog. He looks a bit sad. What's wrong, Sam? Are you feeling bad? Sam sighs. Such a sorrowful sound. He left his favourite blankets at the playground. For 2 days now I've had no sleep, and the playground's so far, I just want to weep. Worry not, says Woolly with a smile. In my fast new kiddie car I'll travel a miles. As Woolly was about to set out on his way, he had another voice filled with dismay. It's Charlie the Cricket. But what does he say? Is there something he needs before Woolly drives away? He lost his voice from chirping all day long. Could Woolly bring him medicine so he could finish his song? Medicine for Charlie. No problem at all. But before he goes, Before he drives off, he hears Mother call. Woolly, as long as you're going, I need something too. Could you buy your mother a tomato or two? Quite a long list, now there's a lot to do, but that's not a problem in a car that's brand new. Finally, Wooly sets off in his car, driving carefully, driving far. Sam's blanket is the first thing he collects on his way. Then the medicine to brighten Charlie's day, then to the store and tomatoes for Mum, then triumphantly home to the beat to the drum. Now everyone is so happy, you see. Sam with his blanket as pleased as can be. Charlie drinks his medicine and sings for joy, and Mum kisses Wooly, her dear little boy. The end of Wooly and the Kiddie Car. Wooly in the garden. With Wooly, on any given day, wondrous things may come your way. Yesterday, while out with his friend John, they crossed the street and the yard beyond. They did not know, of that I'm sure, their day would end with an adventure. On a blade of grass between John's feet, the ant carried a grain of wheat. The ant felt lost in a sea of green, the end of which could not be seen. Well, John knew right away it would be he that saved the day. When the ant was safely on her way, Wooly thought it was time that they found a place where John could tell a story that he told so well. While Wooly and John sat resting beneath the tree, Sam the tortoise walked by as slow as can be. I'll never make it there in time, said Sam. Oh me, oh my, how late I am. John asked Sam, why must you run? Sam said, my friend's birthday party. It's already begun. Well, the only way to get there, I thought, is if this tortoise had a new set of wheels. Wooly said, today is your lucky day. He asked the tree for 2 branches, if he may, and before he could say, kick up your heels, Sam the tortoise had a new set of wheels. As Sam rolled away, his horn beeping, Mary the beetle came by weeping. The grass is so tall, I can hardly see my way at all. Wooly and John said, it's okay, don't worry, we'll build you an airplane. Don't worry, we'll hurry. When the plane was ready, and Mary on board, they launched the plane, and away it soared. Then Mary called down from way up high, I can see my home! Thank you! Bye-bye! When everything was quiet, and no one else around, Wooly and John sat in the shade and watched the sun set in all its glory, and John sat on the ground in the shade and watched the sunset in all its glory, and John finally told Wooly a story. The end of Wooly in the Garden. Wooly plays music. When everyone is sleeping at home, you can hear Wooly rattling. That's why it's time to get out his wooden guitar with its 6 metal strings. What a great way to start the day. Wooly sits down and starts playing. He tried to strum, he tried to pluck, but no tune would come. What naughty luck. It's not as easy as he thinks the music is. I'll go out as he thinks it is out there, but I can't let it go. I'll almost wake up everyone in the house. I'll go out quietly like a mouse. Wooly went out, and all was quiet. No cars, no noise. It was all very quiet. I heard a cricket in the silence, and the sound of a frog among the trees. A little bird called out to his friends, and the little friend said to him, and so on. Then the wind came and blew the leaves. The leaves came on the plug, a sound that came as the wind blew against the tree. The same as you move towards the preparations. The wind and the grass make a duet. Always like this when the wind blows. Then Wooly had an idea. It came to their role. It would be great if they all played together. Let's join hands and form a group. They all agreed with this good idea. What a great way to start the day. They all came to the tree. Sit down. Join us. Anyone can come. Wooly put the high voices together, asked the wind to wait just a bit with the weather. Next to the victim, he put the crickets, even if the birds are late. Once everyone takes place, Wooly put a sign, and night began to rise. Wooly was smiling happily. Music truly sets you free, and if your ears are open, and your mind is too, music is everywhere, all around you. The end of Wooly Plays Music. Wooly and the Whale. Hello to everyone. If there are anyone here who doesn't love the sea and the sun, sit down and I'll tell you a fabulous tale when one day Wooly took a boat and set to sail. It's exciting to be in the wide open sea, the fishes and the waves, and the sun and the wind. The horizon stands out with colours of blue, and as you sail in the water, the sun shines on you. The open sea is a wondrous place. The wind and the way it blows in your face. Wooly was enjoying the greatest of these, enjoying the whisper of the cool sea breeze. What a perfect day to fish. It's time to begin to fish some fresh fishes before night sets in. But suddenly, the waves began to rise, rising higher, rising and rising in a dancing spiral. The boat began to pitch and sway, and it seemed that all the fishes had run away. The water was swirling around and around, the waves crashing with a frightening sound. This might be a time to be wary. What will happen to Wooly? The fishes are truly scared. Everyone's frightened, as scared as can be, of this strange sight, and soon out there in the sea, only little Woolly remains so brave. He dives off the boat and swims through the waves. Who is it that's making these blue waves in the sea? Who's scaring the fishes away? Who's rocking this boat on the fine summer day? Who can it be? Who's scaring the fishes away? Who can it be? A small fish it cannot be. It's Billy the Whale, a big fish indeed. Billy's so happy to see his friend Woolly. Billy doesn't mean to, but look what he's done. He splashes water again and again. Billy doesn't mean to, but look what he's done. Round and round the boat he espied. Billy the Whale, you must really calm down. The people on board are afraid they will drown. We know that all you want to do is to play, but you're causing the boat to rock and to sway. So what can we play that won't scare them all? I know. Let's all play with the ball. A big, colourful beach ball that would play. Come on, Billy, what do you say? And so Billy and Woolly played with the big ball, and the fishes all joined in when they heard the call. Woolly and Billy were careful, but they had fun too, for even when careful was things you could do, and when they all had all the fun that they might, they all said goodbye, thank you, good night. The end of Woolly and the Whale. Woolly and the Wind. One afternoon, it was autumn, you know, a wind happened by and started to blow. It blew 2 leaves off the tree without take care, and lifted John's kennel up in the air. It took all the washing that was hanging to dry, and lifted it up high in the sky. The flowers and bushes in the garden outside had tears in their eyes, and they cried and they cried. Woolly heard the shouts and the cries. He looked with his ears, then listened. He listened with his ears, then looked with his eyes. This is wrong, windy friend. This puffing and blowing simply must end. The wind heard Woolly and felt very sad. It's my job to blow hard. I'm not trying to be bad. Just as the rain in the winter comes down, then the sun in the summer often beats down. When the autumn comes, it's my time to blow. It's the only thing I'm good for, you know. Just as the wind huffed and puffed to show he was heard, and blew a breeze that was short and was curt. The wind left in a huff and said, I am certain there's someone who'd want me to blow through their curtains. Then, a funny thing happened. When the wind went away, everything was quiet. Too quiet, I say. No longer did the flowers dance and then sway. Then Woolly, quite suddenly, did not want to play. Then all of them tried to make wind themselves, but did no more than blow dust off the shelves. We must have the Woolly, John, and the flowers all blew together till they thought they could never blow again, ever. We must have the wind back, Woolly said with a cry. We must ask the wind to come back to our sky. Wind, wind, we all want you back. We're sorry we asked you to leave. Come back. The flowers are watching, they all do agree. John and I want you back too. Don't you see? For a moment there was nothing, but then, with a sigh, the wind blew back to their part of the sky. It started as a whisper. It started so slow, till the breeze was a wind that began to blow. Hooray! They all shouted, all with big smiles, and watched as the wind took some leaves and blew them for miles. The flowers danced and felt all was right, and watched as the wind danced with the kite. Woolly and his friends all finally understood, but even though the wind may be rough, it is good. The end of Woolly and the Wind. Woolly digs a hole. There are some days when the sun shines bright that it's nearly impossible to stay inside. Nature calls Woolly to come out and play. There's no chance to say no on such a beautiful day. It was one of those days, and Woolly went out for a walk. On the lush green grass, he found a quiet spot. What could he do on this nice sunny day? What kind of game does he want to play? A thought comes to mind, and he's caught with a smile. There's something he wanted to know for a while. What would happen if he were to dig a hole in the ground that's deep and big? Could he keep digging forever and ever? And if so, would that make him clever? Woolly walked in the garden and looked all around, and he picked up a spade that lay on the ground. He'll dig a deep hole. There's no time to spare. He must find out what goes on down there. Woolly started digging. With great delight, he dug with excitement and with all of his might. The hole in the ground grew more and more deep, and the soil he dug made a huge brown heap. On the way he found roots and stems of plants. He found rocks and pebbles, and he even found ants. Then the soil became smooth and moist, a very deep brown, with a texture that felt so nice on his hands. After at least a few hours had gone by, Woolly noticed the hole was as deep as his eyes, and after a little while more, his fingers could barely reach out of the hole. I dug a deep hole, like I wanted to do, and now I'm inside. It's a little bit weird, but also quite nice. No one can see me, and I'm all alone, but Mummy may wonder why I'm not at home. So Woolly built a ladder and started to climb. out of the hole back to the world outside. He did a great job as he dug to explore, but he didn't find the answer he was looking for. Woolly looked down, and he was very proud. I guess, he thought, that if you dig in the ground, then what you find in the end is a very big hole. And then a smile came back to his face. All of this work will not go to waste. Tomorrow he'll come back with excitement and glee, and in the hole he'll plant a very big tree. The end of Woolly Digs a Hole. Woolly on a hot day. In the morning, when Woolly first opened his eyes, he raised his head and looked out to the skies, He raised his head and looked out of the skies, the beautiful sun, with big yellow rays. Woolly knew it would be a wonderful day. He climbed out of bed to start his day, when he suddenly felt a little dismay. Woolly felt he could no longer stand the heat. He went right outside and stood on the street. Up in the sky, the sun was burning with flames. The flowers and trees were about to faint. Sammy the dog was in great despair. He was searching for water or some fresh, cold air. The sun became very big, red and bright, and Woolly thought maybe she was sick or something wasn't right. If the sun is sick and has a fever as well, this could be a terrible, terrible spell. She can make the world very mad. She can set things on fire and do things that are bad. Woolly knew he must get to work right away and fix everything without any delay. Woolly went up to the big red truck and thought maybe he would have some luck. He approached the truck that was parked outside and asked him for a ride to the store nearby. "Sir, could you please fill up the truck behind with ice creams and popsicles of all different kinds?" And after the truck was full to the top, Woolly told him to drive until he asked him to stop. He showed the truck in which direction to drive and asked him to climb the mountain up high, because Woolly must reach the sun very fast so he can fix all the problems and make the sun's sickness pass. When they reached the top of the mountain they climbed, they could almost touch the sun that sparkled and shined. Woolly told the sun to open her mouth wide, and he fed her an ice cream and felt great pride. The sun just tasted the ice cream he brought, and her fever went down. She was no longer hot. And so it became cool, and the wind began to blow, and Sammy was happy. His smile did glow. The flowers and trees that were tired and grey were happy again. They could smile and play, and sweet little Woolly was proud of his deeds and went to the store to buy an ice cream. The end of Woolly on a hot day. Woolly and the Jackals. On a dark, clear night, no clouds in the sky, Woolly heard the cry of a jackal outside. The cries always sound a little scary, of course, but this time they were louder and howled with force. And even though there were very few stars in the sky, Woolly went to find the mystery outside. He walked and walked and approached the sound until he found the jackals prowling around. "Hey, jackals, what's happened tonight? Why is your howling so full of fright? Why have you been crying loud all night? Don't you know is not polite?" "Hello there, Woolly. It's good you've come by," said a jackal to Woolly as he approached him with a sigh. "We're having an argument that just won't cease. Perhaps you could come and help us make peace. There's a little problem we've tried to sort out. That's what we've been arguing about. Please sit here, sweet Woolly, even though it is night. It's time to put an end to our very long fight. We all know that every night of the week we let out cries, the same note every single time. I think that's the right key, and the truth is that from all this arguing, I would love to flee. But there are some little jackals that think it's a bore. They think it's time to do something more. They think we should play a new note every night, but I can barely remember the one from last night." Woolly thought to himself quietly. "Listen, my friends, it's quite simple and easy. I'll tell you my solution, but only if you promise your cries will be quiet and few." "Okay," said the jackals with patience and grace, and listened to Woolly with a serious face. "My solution is simple and easy too. It's jackal cry of the note that he likes, and when each of you cries of the note you desire, together you will sound like a beautiful choir." The jackals took a small moment to think, but then they started to like the idea Woolly gave. "So, if on one of the nights you hear a choir that sings, and it sounds quite nice like a song or a hymn, he'll know that they're singing their new jackal cry, a song they put together for Woolly and I." The end of Woolly and the Jackals. Woolly and the Waterfall. When you take a small walk right outside Woolly's house, and on days which are quiet and there's no one around, if you put your hand close to one of your ears, there's a very special sound. You can barely just hear, a sound that comes from far, far away, a sound that can be heard on a cold or hot day. It's a kind of a whoosh that's nice and calm. Whoosh! It's the sound that is made by a big waterfall. Here it is, a big blue waterfall, just for me. Woolly looks around and is overcome with glee. It's a beautiful place to come and spend time, to play games, to sit, to watch the water flow by. Sammy and Woolly once went up to the peak to play. They saw lots of white foam, and in the foam they found shapes. Woolly saw a dove that turned into a butterfly, and Sammy saw a big bone that looked tasty and nice. They both saw many rows of ducks, and even though Sammy told Woolly he'd seen too much, Woolly showed him lizard's claw and a house with a chimney and a door. They both threw sticks into the water and tried to see whose stick would arrive faster. But the sticks disappeared in the current that was so strong, and they couldn't figure out to whom the sticks belonged. This beautiful river, it's really divine. Every time I visit, there's water inside, even when there isn't a drop of rain at all. But the river is all and gives life to the waterfall. One day, says Woolly to Sam with a grin, we'll go and find out where the falls begin. Perhaps there's a tab someone forgot to close. Perhaps there's a hole in the gardening hose. They say that a river grows out of a spring. They see when it's born. It's a very small thing. Not a river, just barely a stream. And then it grows bigger as it flows down the hill. But of Sammy the dog, the trip sounds far away. He yawns and he laughs. Perhaps someday they each take a stick and they go back to play. The sun's going down to the great dismay, and perhaps at night they can lay outside and listen together to the whoosh that they like. The end of Woolly and the Waterfall. Woolly and the Kite. Noon's come around, and it's quiet and calm. Woolly's decided it's the perfect time for a nap. He laid his head on the pillow and looked at the skies. Sleep is just around the corner, and I'll shut both his eyes. But the window is moving. It's making a noise. It's quite hard to sleep like this. Woolly's annoyed. Woolly got up and closed the window shut. Now he'll be able to sleep and drift away in his beautiful dreams. But what is that whistling he hears outside? It's me, said the wind. I'm out here. Come outside. It's boring alone. You can rest at night. I promise I won't blow. Well, okay, Wind. I'll be right outside. Yes, what can I help you with, dear Miss Wind? Let's play together, you and me. It will be fun, Woolly. I promise. You'll see. What can we play? You're always moving about. We can play hide and seek, without a doubt. And right away, the wind flew up to the trees. She blew her breeze, and Woolly tried, but it's hard to succeed. Catching the wind is a very hard deed. It's not a simple thing to do, you know. She is the wind, but he's just a boy. Okay, said the wind. We'll run in the fields. We'll run up and down hills. Woolly joined, and together they ran. But into Woolly's eyes, the wind blew sad. Stop it, Wind. This is simply not fun. This game's not for me. Find yourself someone else, Woolly said, and let me go back to rest in my bed. And then there was a moment of quiet. Maybe the wind was offended or mad. No, she was just thinking a thought in her head. A great idea has come to my mind. I have a game that we'll both really like. Wait for a moment, and don't go to bed. The wind disappeared, but came back with a kite in her hand. Woolly smiled. He really loves kites. He loves when they fly very high in the sky. He took the kite string, and he held it real tight, and the wind blew, and lifted the kite way up high. And until the sun went down, they played in the fields, the small happy boy and the mighty strong wind. The end of Woolly and the Kite. Woolly and the Fairy. It's late at night, but Woolly just can't sleep. He misses the imaginary forest, of which he often dreams. My visits in the forest have become very rare. It's time that I go back and see what's going on there. If he wants to go to the forest he adores, he knows exactly what he must do. He must concentrate and close his eyes and imagine the place in which the forest lies. 3, 2, 1. This is going to be fun. Woolly's back again in his imaginary lands. His imaginary forest hasn't changed at all. The trees are still very friendly and tall, and between branches and leaves in the very dark caves, there are little dwarves that are happy and brave. All is okay here, he thought in his head. I can go home now and go back to bed. But then, all of a sudden, he sees on the tree a sad little fairy that sits there and weeps. What is the matter? Why don't you smile? Come and sit with me for a while. You have tears in your eyes. I didn't know that fairies could cry. I don't know what's happened. I'm not okay. My magical powers aren't working today. A very sad day this will be if my magical powers don't come back to me. How will we find the source of this pain? How will we rescue dear Princess Jean? I really don't know what I should do. Please help, dear Willie. I feel so blue. And then Woolly told her, don't fret and don't frown. I'll solve all your problems before the moon goes down. Then Woolly approached one of the giant trees and asked him to borrow a branch with no leaves. He then took the branch, and without the word, in the magical potion, he placed it and stirred. He went back to the fairy, who sat there and prayed, and gave her the magical stick that he made. Thank you, sweet Woolly, she said with a smile, and she tried it to see that her wait was worthwhile. She tapped a leaf and flapped her wings, and in a moment it turned into a lamb that sings. It's amazing, sweet Woolly. You must come and see. My magical powers have come back to me. Woolly, the fairy, and the very big tree were dancing and singing with joy and with glee. Ah, it's fun to imagine and dream at night. Imagination is a real delight. The end of Woolly and the Fairy. Woolly and the Tomorrow. On one Friday morning, Woolly woke up with a frown. Why is it that Fridays are so long and make me feel down? Where is Saturday? When will he be here? Why does it take him so long to appear? Woolly decided there's no time to spare. He went to search for the tomorrow out there. Some food and some water he put in his pack. He went out on a mission. Without answers, he won't come back. He invited Sammy the dog and Ben the cat too, and together they set out to find something new. And so with no fear and hope in his eyes, they went to the place where the sun likes to rise. It's where the sun rises and where it first shines, that every new day passes for the very first time. Woolly and his friends walked far and walked fast. They crossed roads and bridges and reached the river at last. What a big river, and the current so strong. How would they cross it? This may take very long. Woolly called 3 turtles to come help him fast, and the turtles swam over, and they climbed on their backs. They crossed the river. As time passed by, they swam very far, and always kept dry, and now it was time to continue the quest, and find where it is that tomorrow rests. They ran down the path, and they suddenly stopped. They reached the cliff that couldn't be crossed. How Ben was worried quite a lot. How they crossed such a steep drop? But Woolly's creative and also quite brave. He'll solve any problem that just comes his way. He waved to 2 eagles he saw way up high, and they came right away to help from the sky. Woolly climbed on one, and his friends climbed on too, and on the eagles' backs they flew. A beautiful flight, way above the clouds. Woolly and his friends landed safe. Woolly and his friends landed safely. They landed safely back on the ground. Woolly and his friends were back on their feet. The sun's going down, and their mission incomplete. And because they were tired from their very long quest, they stopped near the trees for a short little rest. They shut their eyes and counted the sheep, and within moments they were all fast asleep. And then, all of a sudden, a ray of sun shines bright and wakes up everyone. Wake up, my friends, it's a brand new day. It's Saturday. Woolly was happy and glad that he found the tomorrow he was looking for all around. The end of Woolly and the Tomorrow. Woolly and the Party. Woolly and Sam have been busy all day, planning a party and working away. Once every year, it's a well-known affair. For a weekend they gather, you'll see everyone there. They dance, and they move all around. Each has their own style for the various sounds. From the fields come the flowers, with their friends the bees, and the birds fly about and bring leaves from the trees. And when Ben the cat joined the party, his friends, the ladybugs, come too. The wind, she always arrives very late, and she gusts, and she blows when she arrives at the gate. The wind always likes to give an amazing show. It's the best one in town, all the guests know. From the swamp come the frogs. They jump all the way. The party's about to begin. Let the music play. Woolly's excited. Sam the dog talks to all of the guests. He's so busy entertaining, he has no time to rest. Woolly jumps onto the trunk of the tree, who raises his arms, asks for silence, and all the guests agree. Thank you for coming, dear friends of mine. Are you all ready for dancing and some wine? Has everyone practiced? Are your dancing shoes on? Ben, let's hit it. Let's have some fun. The bees and the cat, the flowers and frogs were all dancing together with Sammy the dog. The rhythm and beat and the sound of the drums. These parties are great. That's why everyone comes. The flowers were waltzing, 1, 2, and 3, swaying together in harmony. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The leaves had a beautiful dance of their own, and the birds in the sky were giving the tone. The ladybugs happily danced in a row. Together they put on a really great show. All of the guests just couldn't stand still. They danced and they danced with very great skill. The party was great, a real success, and everyone promised they won't mix the necks. And if you would like to join the party too, just come to Woolly's house. He'll be happy to have you. The end of Woolly and the Party. Woolly looks at the clouds. There are moments like these throughout the year when a new season is about to appear. There's spring that comes round after the winter is done, and winter that starts after the fall is gone. Summer arrives right after spring, and autumn comes when the summer leaves. These are the days in which Woolie's advice is to lie on your back and stare at the skies, perhaps with a friend, or perhaps on your own. These days are really pretty. It's a fact that's well known. Lie on your back, open your eyes, and look at the clouds that sail way up high. Get to know them, and you'll become aware that they don't just simply float out there. There's order and reason for every move you'll spot. It's a theatre of clouds. You'll soon discover the plot. Today, for example, there's a special play with a fish and a rabbit and a frog named Ray. The curious rabbit jumped because he wanted to know what's under the water, what's hiding below. To be a good swimmer, he must practice some more. Good thing the fish helped him and took him to shore. Thank you, dear frog, for pulling me out. I will drown without you, there is no doubt. Sam was worried just a moment ago, now clapped his paws and waited for the next show. And then came a rhino, singing a tune, and tied to his nose was a big balloon. More cloud friends joined the show in the sky, an elephant, a turtle, and a whale that can fly. They'd laughed so hard that they started to cry, and little wet tears started falling from the sky. What is so funny? Sam asked with a grin. I think the next show is about rain and wind. The end of Woolie Looks at the Clouds. Last but not least, Woolie and the show. One beautiful morning, Woolie woke up with the sunrise and saw Sam the dog with tears in his eyes. Sam, what's wrong? Why are you sad? Sam shed a tear and looked a little distressed. I would love for just a day to be special, different from the rest. And little Woolie knew just what to do. He called Ben the cat and whispered in his ear, Sam likes tricks and shows of all kinds. We'll do a show for him and make it a surprise. And so on a journey went all three, hopping and skipping and smiling with glee, and Sam joined in from behind the tree. They crossed the fields and reached the hill, where they found a hat, a stick, and a wheel. Woolie asked Sam to wait on his own. We have something to prepare. We need some moments alone. Woolie curled his tail with a frown on his face. The only thing he wanted was to leave this place. And then, all of a sudden, from behind the big tree, Woolie showed up. In his hand he holds a stick. I wonder if he'll do a trick. The leaves on the ground started floating in the air, and for the big show, Woolie had to prepare. Ben the cat was jumping up and down. This is going to be the best show in town. Are all the dogs sitting? Sam the dog had a big smile on his face. He wagged his tail and sat in his place. Woolie pointed his stick down. Ben the cat got on the wheel and started rolling around. The flowers cheered and clapped their hands. There was great excitement in the stands. Sam clapped and cheered out loud, and Woolie raised his hand. And now, my friends, it's time for Sam the dog to show us the tricks he knows and loves. Sam was happier than he's ever been, and he ran right over to the stage with a grin. He rolled the hat with his paws, jumped inside, and disappeared. And you won't believe what happened next. The sounds of magic and tricks from the hat, and a rabbit jumped out, just like that. The rabbit turned round and put his hand inside, and Sam jumped out with great pride. Woolie and his friends were laughing with delight. What a wonderful show. What a wonderful sight. Sam is really one of a kind. A magician like him you cannot find. Sam and his friends bowed before the crowd. The flowers and the trees cheered out loud, and a little tear fell from Sam's eye. A tear of happiness as he bid the crowd goodbye. The end of Woolie and the show. And that's the end of all the Woolly episodes. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you again. Bye!